The top 5 quarterbacks for the upcoming season in college football, according to Pete, Thamel, and me. Plus, we'll also visit with the coach of the reigning champions of the Big 12, Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State. This is the College Game Day podcast. We are recording on Wednesday, June 18th. And Pete, we're going to waste no time joining one of the bright offensive minds in all of football, whether college or pros. Also a guy who did a fabulous job taking a team that was picked to finish at the bottom of the Big 12 a year ago, make it to the college football playoff, and come within an eyelash and perhaps a controversial call from advancing even further into that field. We have Kenny Dillingham with us now. Kenny, how are you? How have you been in the offseason? How are things going?
I'm phenomenal. Things are going great. Guys are working, guys are competing. So that's all you can ask for. But I wish we had more negativity around the program a little bit. But that's part of it. So hopefully we can not let that get to our head.
If when I was at your practice, Kenny, the Monday of the national championship game last April, when it was in Phoenix, and if I had said to you, in a year from now, you're going to be a playoff team, and the biggest problem is a lack of adversity, how quickly would you have signed up for that scenario?
Oh, all day, every day. That's what everybody wants to sign up for. Everybody wants to sign up for high expectations, not low expectations.
We're going to talk quarterbacks, and Pete and I are going to count down what we believe will be the top 5 quarterbacks in college football this year. Why should your guy be in the list?
Oh, he's a competitor. He makes plays that we don't call the play for. I think any time that your quarterback makes you look good, all right, you got a chance. So not only can he make plays when we don't call a good call, when somebody gets beat, he extends the plays, right? He can make the rhythm play too. He can make the play in rhythm. He can go and scramble like the end of the Texas game, even though we didn't get it done on a huge 3rd and 15 in overtime. He goes and scrambles. It's reminiscent of Jake Plummer, right? Then he works like a champion. Everybody sees him works like a champion. He prepares like a champion. I mean, I've been blessed to coach, my last really 3 quarterbacks, but 2 in particular, really, really good guys that were competing for the Heisman. He is every bit as good as those 2 guys. So he is 1,000% one of the top quarterbacks, and I wouldn't trade him for any quarterback in the country.
Wow. Walk us through your story with him, Kenny. He obviously transferred from Michigan State, but you had some background with him from your time at Oregon. Just walk us through how Sam Leavitt became a Sun Devil.
Yeah, so I was at Florida State, and I got a call from somebody about this young buck, and I liked his tape. Back then I used to throw out a lot of young offers because that was kind of the thing you did, was you wanted to get in the game on guys. So I was his first offer, actually, when I was at Florida State. And then he ends up going to Michigan State, and I end up, coming to Arizona State. It doesn't work out at Michigan State for him, right? We're looking for a quarterback, and we bring him in, and we were going to take 2 quarterbacks because you can't miss on a quarterback, right?
Sure.
I'm only as good as the quarterback we have, not vice versa, right? I suck without a quarterback. A quarterback is good without me. So, let's make that clear. And so he shows up on campus. We tell him we're going to take 2 guys, and then we go into our meeting where we talk football. And he goes in with Coach Arroyo, and I kid you not, 6, 7, 8 hours, somewhere in there, he didn't leave. Straight. His dad's a football guy, and his dad's like, holy cow. 6, 7, 8 hours, this kid sat in and wanted to do football. And when he left the meeting, I went up to Coach Arroyo, and I said we're only taking 1. We're going to tell this guy we're all in. We're all in. We'll take you and come compete. And that's what he wanted to do. So we changed our plan from taking 2, and we only took 1. We took him, and he's earned it, and he continues to earn it every day since.
People love hearing that because it's a remarkable and wonderful attribute for a quarterback. How does he find balance in order to make sure that drive doesn't almost... I use the analogy. I heard this from a coach back when I was in high school. Back in the old days, Kenny, we used to have these things called boom boxes, and they're making a comeback. Yeah, you have these things to play music. And if you jacked it up to 10, the sound gets distorted. It might be the most powerful, but it's a little distorted. And I remember this coach saying, you want to be on 9 or so. so that you're at maximum power yet not distorted. A guy that has that type of work ethic and drive, how do you keep him at the right spot so it almost doesn't hurt him because he wants it so badly, he works so hard and so much?
That's a great question. And, I tell our team, I tell our staff, I want to get the boombox that can go to 10 and blow your ears off and teach it to stay at 8 or 9. But don't give me the boombox that its 10 is only as high as that boombox is 5, right? You can't teach a dog how to bite, but you can teach a dog how to bite, when to bite. And he's a dog that bites. He's a boombox that goes to 10. And I think that boombox analogy is perfect. We just show him when to use it. There are times to go on 10. There are times that it's unacceptable the way something is happening or the way we're doing something at a practice or how he's working. And then there are times to say, but you have to have balance. You have to get away. So we kick him out of the building, like, leave. What are you doing up here? You've watched this 9 times. You've answered everything right, right? Whatever that is. So I think that's our job as coaches, to be able to take him and his passion and find that balance that makes him, the most productive. So the music isn't distorted because it's so loud, right? You want to be able to hear it. And I think for him, that's really what we've worked on, is that balance, not just off the field with his work ethic, but on the field with his passion, is how to say, listen, you've got to be yourself. I'm never going to talk you out of that passion. I'm passionate. You're passionate. Great. We'll yell at each other. I'm great with it. We're going to hug after. Great. But this kid can't handle your passion, and you're a leader. This kid needs your passion. Learn when to use it, when to know that this person doesn't hear well, crank that thing up. This person hears just fine, like my wife. You got to turn the volume down, right? To learn when to use your strengths.
Very good. All right, that's a good answer. So, Kenny, you roll out in the Wyoming game last year. You are picked last in the Big 12. A fact that was, I think, repeated approximately 7 billion times as you went on to win the Big 12. And again, you had a little bit of a build up, right? You had a big game with Mississippi State, and then that thriller against Texas State before you went to Tech. Like, at what point did you know what you were convicted about with Sam, that you saw in the intangibles in the practice? At what point was there like oh, this is going to work, or this is working? Like, when you navigated that early part of the schedule?
Yeah, I always had a lot of belief. I mean, even in the preseason, I said I thought we had 2 NFL quarterbacks on our team, and I still believe that. I think our backup's an NFL guy as well, Jeff Sims. But with Sam, the moment that we played Kansas, and we were back and forth versus Kansas, he had some good games where I was like, I always believed that this guy's a dude. But the moment we played Kansas, and we had to go down and score, and we went down and scored, and then they went down and scored with under 4 minutes left. And he gets in the huddle. He's a redshirt freshman, and he gets in the huddle, game like 5 or 6, and says, we're going to score to win this game. That is what a quarterback is. That is what the best guys do. They give a sense of belief to everybody around them that as long as this dude has the ball, we're going to win the football game. And does it always work out like that? No. But the power of belief, and when those guys believed in that, we went down the field, won the football game. That was when I said, okay, not only is this kid the best in the biggest moments, this kid speaks in the biggest moments and people follow. And that's the combination that you want to be special. Is you can't just be a great player. You've got to be a great leader when you're at that position, because it's the ultimate leadership position.
That game, in many ways that you referenced, the Kansas game, a microcosm of the season for both of those teams, and also for teams in the Big 12 in recent years. I think last year, games decided by 7 points or fewer, that actual close games, I think you were 4-1, I think, or something in the regular season, +4 anyway, in that regard. You're +14 in turnovers last year after being -11 a year ago. Over the last several years, there are numerous instances, whether it was TCU's national championship game season, Oklahoma State going from the championship game in the conference to a poor season the following year. And a lot of it turns on whether you were good or not in big games, in close games, whether the ball bounced your way. How do you take a season in which you were able to build some confidence because you succeeded in those situations and have it carry over into staying power. Whereas some of the other teams in the Big 12 have had some ups and downs based on the bounce of the ball, candidly.
Yeah, I think you have to stay focused on what wins. You can't care about nobody earns the right to win a football game. Like you don't just show up and win. You have to earn it. And the way you earn it is playing the game the right way. We say smart, tough, the ball, the team. You can't have MAs. You can't have stupid penalties. You have to play smart, know what you're doing. You have to whoop the person in front of you's butt. And then when they whoop your butt, you've got to be able to get up and do it again. You have to be mentally tough. You have to take care of the football like you just alluded to. That biggest stat was the number one reason, other than effort, why our season turned upside down from prior. That's what, 24 turnovers of difference. That's 2 a game. I mean, that's what winning is. And the last one is the team. You have to give effort. You have to give so much effort that when your linebacker misses the tackle, your backside corner makes the play 30 yards down the field. That way your linebacker doesn't end up on ESPN for losing the football game for you. That's teamwork, is effort. So I think in order to win those close games, you got to play the game the right way. And there's a reason why teams continually play and win close games, is because they play the right way. And there's a reason why some coaches continually win. And I truly think it's because they inspire their players to play the game the right way. And is the ball always going to bounce your way? No. But is it going to bounce your way more times than not? Yeah. And that's the goal, is continue to play the game the right way. But it's really hard to do that when you have people telling you how good you are. It's way easier to do that when people tell you suck. Right? When people tell you you're great and you're the greatest thing of the planet and how good you are, you're the best team in 30 years, blah, 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 blah. When are our rings coming in? Who gives a crap? Right? I think that's the goal, is why do you care? And stay focused on what got us here. And if you do that, you're going to get beyond where you could ever imagine. That's a Willy Wonka quote. I didn't even realize.
There you go.
How about that?
Oh, full
How about
circle,
that?
baby.
So in an opposite parallel, Kenny, it's a lot harder to get it's easier to get your team's attention when you're 3-9. It's a lot harder to get the community's attention when you're 3-9. You took this job almost like a vocation. From the moment I met you, you said, my dream job is to be the coach at Arizona State University. Kenny told me this 7, 8 years ago. I said, I don't want to be the head coach at Alabama. I don't want to be the head coach at Georgia, Notre Dame, fill in the blank. This is the job that I want to do. And as we chatted early in your tenure, you were I remember you talking to like local politicians about fundraising advice because you were out there pitching. Can you walk me through how much easier the pitch is now that you have gone 11-3 mid the playoff and do have Sam Leavitt, who, projects to be one of the great quarterbacks of all time and is like a face of the program in a pro town where you have to cut through?
Yeah, well, way easier. I like to say, I've said it even when we sucked, this is a front-running city. People move to Scottsdale when they retire. They go to Scottsdale to vacation and golf on awesome courses for 2 weeks at a time, right? It's a city built off winning. That's what it is. You're surrounded by successful people who made it all around the city, who are just relaxing, having a good time. They want to go and be at a party. They want to be a part of fun, right? So when you're winning, it's fun. And right now, we're the team that's winning right now, and it's fun. How do we double down on that? Because at the end of the day, I really don't think there's many things more fun than a college football game, right? So how do you double down on that fun and that excitement and get people, we say the term activate the valley. And what that means is the dude from Chicago who didn't go to Arizona State, who retired out here, well, how do we get that dude wanting to be at Mountain America Stadium on Saturdays? Like, how do we get that dude to want to do that? Like, that's where the fun's at. It's like the Waste Management Open. Like, not even golfers don't always go to that. People who want fun do. So we need to attract the fun. And I think we've done that this year. I think we need to continue to do that. And I think people will always get behind people who play the game with an edge, play the game very hard, play the game with a purpose and a passion behind it. I think people love to see passion, and that's what separates college sports, is that passion and that real. And I hope our team continues to play with that, because I also think it's one of our secret sauces, is that passion and that energy. And it's not always a good reflection at times. You got to be able to control it, including myself, hence BYU. but there are moments that you got to have somebody help you control that passion.
Okay, I have to.
I knew you wouldn't be able to resist.
Will you ever do that again?
I
mean, and wait, to remind people we're talking about, tried to run off the clock, ran backwards. It was like a backyard thing that you see, or maybe something you try in a video game, which I know you're familiar with. Will you ever try that again? To try to run out the clock by running backwards?
Oh, 100% in the right.
Why? Why?
In the right situation? Let's say you're up 1 point, you're on the 4-yard line. There's 1 minute and 40 seconds left. Do you want to score and go up 8 and give them the ball back? No. You want to be able to run out the clock. Where I failed was we could have taken a 2-possession lead, so it wasn't worth doing what I did. 100% a mistake. Is 100% stupid, dumb. I will never do what we did again. Is there a place for what we did in the right moment? Yes. But we were not in that moment to do that. So that was 100% a mistake by me.
When did you realize it?
The moment the ball landed at 0 seconds, and then they said they were going to put a second on the clock. if they don't put a second on the clock, nobody's ever having a conversation. People are probably saying, what a genius move to just run backwards and not run another play. But the game we play is a game of inches and seconds, and you get crucified over these small moments. So that's part of it. But if that never happens, there's never a conversation about the strategy.
Can I do one thing here? And I want the court to stipulate, Pete, I'm sorry to step in here. The court to stipulate, please. Kenny, you have forgotten more football strategy in the last 3 seconds than I'll ever know. I know that. There's a part of me that says, go ahead, score, go up 8, and dare them to beat you. That way, if something awful happens, like, say, years ago in the 90s, Baylor tried to put to your point, Baylor tried to put an attitude touchdown on UNLV. They fumbled the ball. UNLV ran it back 99 yards, won the game. So if like something crazy happens, the worst possible scenario is that you're tied. Why? Tell me why I'm wrong.
Because a play should last 4 seconds. Then you have the play clock that lasts 44. So when you half roll and take a knee, the minimum amount of time it should take is 44 seconds off the clock. So really, if a team has no timeouts and there's 2 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock, you should never be able to get touched ever. And the game should be over. So you should roll back, take a knee, 4 seconds, roll back, take a knee, 4 seconds, roll back, take a knee, 4 seconds, plus the 40, 40, 40, which is 2 minutes total, plus the 4 seconds of play time. 2 minutes and 12 seconds just got burned. And you could throw the ball away on 4th down if there was 2 seconds still left. So really, when you hit the 2 minutes and 15-second mark, you should never, and they have no timeouts. Well, now the rule changed because the 2-minute warning, so you automatically got to give a timeout, right? So at 1:59 left, the opponent should never get the ball back. So that's the chart we have. Like I said, our plays took 2 seconds at times, which were not positive. So I would never do what we did again, just because I don't care what the analytic and the book said at the time or what I studied. I would never take that again. But if we were up 1, we would definitely do something similar. Not quite the same. We would be better at executing it, and I would practice it more. I think the biggest flaw in that was I didn't practice those situations enough to be able to execute those situations enough. And that's me as a young head coach learning and getting better and growing. Is if I want to be unique in situations, I have to practice the unique. And I can't do unique things if we don't practice those things, because then you look like an idiot, like I did.
No, I wouldn't say you.
No, you can say it.
That's such a. It's clear I didn't like it. 2 things. Number one, I want to say that's such a smart point that you made, and it's also such a mature attitude toward the moment, and also to protect my rear end from the aggregators who I'm talking about, like when you can't totally run off the clock. Obviously, I understand you don't try to stick it in the end zone.
When you can't, you should score.
100%. Yeah. Okay. That's what I was talking. Okay. All right.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. This is the real question about preparation. What post-game interview was more hectic with fans on the field, Texas State or the aftermath of BYU?
Oh my gosh. How do you bring up literally, I'm in the Big 12 head coaching meetings and I'm like, listen, are we going to keep adding a second on the clock? No other coach in there has ever had a second added to the clock. We had it happen twice. And I'm like, Rich Rodriguez is like, they're just messing with you, Kenny. They're just messing with you. And I'm like, you've been coaching. You're probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. This has never happened. It happened twice in 1 year. Definitely BYU because our fans were on the field. You know, Texas State, we just had kids in the shower. We had kids that already ran in the locker room. They were in the shower. And we had to like get them back on the field, get their gear back on to like go defend the last play.
Oh,
Even in the BYU game, we had kids who couldn't find their helmet because all the fans. So we're like scavenger around because fans were picking up helmets, trying to find helmets to get back on the field. So like there was a point in BYU after I lost my mind where I started just complaining to buy time. Because we were in chaos. So I'm over there just like almost like what's it called? Filibustering?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
That's
Yeah.
the right word. Just
Yeah.
to try to like get our starting safety's helmet back from the fan. So definitely a year to remember. Hopefully not a year to duplicate.
Let me ask about the Big 12, Kenny. We're at an off season with a lot of macro topics, right? The House settlement just came through, college football playoff, and as the discussions have happened, there's a lot of rhetoric about the increased divide between the so-called Power Two and everyone else, being the SEC and the Big Ten. And there's a theory that if this actual settlement and rev share happens, it should even the playing field, right? More than anything else. Now, a lot of that depends on NIL go and such, but I'm just curious, as you sit here and we're at this really interesting inflection point for where college football goes, how confident are you in the Big 12's place, Arizona State's place in being in that conversation? Look, you had Texas essentially almost beaten last year. Like in a lot of ways on the field, the divide doesn't seem that far. Just I'm curious your take on the macro and where it goes from here and ASU and the Big 12's place in it.
Yeah, I think 100%. If we do it right, we can compete with anybody. And I think the balance of college football, if everything goes according to what you just said in terms of what it's supposed to do, then there is going to be a balance. You're not going to get teams being able to, I don't want to say the word hoard, but accumulate all the best players in the country because there's going to be a dollar amount that you're going to have to eventually say that this freshman, we can't afford this freshman because we have a sophomore who's going to play 2 more years from us and he's going to be a starter. I can't pay the third string defensive tackle starter money. I'm going to run out of money. Eventually that should create a balance. But it's not just going to create a balance for, I think that trickle down effect is forever. So it's not just like the trickle down effects ends at Arizona State or ends at another school in our league. I think that goes down to every school. So I think the balance amongst everybody in college football, I think the depth is going to be harder to maintain quality depth because your rosters are being cut combined with it's going to be really hard to get really quality guys that are on the back end of your roster in the next couple of years or ready to play. They're going to have to be young, which is fine. But I definitely think we're in a good position. I actually think our league is in a good position, regardless of who people think better teams are at. And this league has these. Who cares? The goal is to get to the dance. Do whatever your rules are to get to the dance and see what happens. We got to the dance. We didn't get it done. Were we close? Yes. Did we get it done? No. Bottom line. So let's try to get to the dance again and try to get it done. And anybody who wants to complain about all the other what's fair, what's not fair, I get it. I could give a crap. Give us an avenue to get to the dance. And if we accomplish the task necessary, we'll dance. And if we don't, we'll sit our butt down.
The guy who helped bring you to the dance last year, Cam Skattebo, you'll have to try to find someone to step in for him. Now that he's gone, who literally has the biggest head on your team?
Oh, gosh. Oh, that's a great question.
McAfee loves Skattebo's head. He can't get enough of it.
His head, you know what? It's true though too. He's got a, and this coming from a guy. I've got a big melon. I was at Disney with my daughter last week and I was looking for a hat. I couldn't find one. I had to find the XL hats. I've got a big old melon myself.
You want us to send you an XL Arizona State hat? That could fit? Okay, we'll shoot you an XL Arizona State hat so you can wear it every game day.
All right. Well, we're gonna have the need on game day for someone to pick up headgears. Although no one's going to put on a mascot head ever. I will form tackle somebody that tries to take the Lee Corso headgear. Kidding aside, how will replacing him or finding someone to help with that production come along?
Yeah, it's going to be impossible for one player to replace him. He was a special talent, in my opinion, and it's impossible for one guy to do it. There's going to have to be a variety of guys that pick up his yardage. And that's the fun part. When you have, 2,000 yards of offense leaving, all right, we got to have running backs that pick it up. We got to have wideouts pick it up. We got to have our quarterback pick it up, tight ends pick it up. It's going to be a variety of people grabbing 100 yards, grabbing 300 yards, grabbing 800 yards to replace that production. And it's going to be Coach Arroyo and the scheme to be able to adapt to pick up that verbiage or to pick up that, lost production and be able to shift it in different areas. So I think that's really the challenge is how do we adapt and twist the offense and change the offense to pick up what we're losing in scat while also still having really good backs that we feel comfortable with running the football and giving the ball to. But to put all that pressure on those guys wouldn't be fair.
Kenny's an early AM guy. He often will call on his way to work I'm not even up yet, and it's an ungodly West Coast hour. As the head coach at Arizona State in the pre-dawn darkness, have you ever squinted and said, I wonder where College Game Day would go if they came here for a game, some 6 a.m. Kickoff for one of our home games? Have you ever dreamed that dream up, Kenny?
100%. There's a college football game day from whatever 15, 20 years ago, still sign up there over at our old facilities. So 100% I think about that. I mean, who wouldn't?
We're up for it. I was about to say, Pete, they have 3 really big road games against contenders, but perhaps we will come and find a home game that would help activate the Valley, man. You've done a remarkable job. Always great talking to you. Appreciate your energy and your candor, and can't wait to see you this season, my friend. Hope you guys do well. All the best.
Thank you. Go Devils.
Man, pretty easy to see why he's been able to activate the Valley. Perhaps, in the words of his new mentor, invention, my dear friends, is 93% perspiration. And the suspense is terrible. I hope it'll last. Both from Willy Wonka, Pete.
All right.
Willy Wonka
Look at that.
Quotes, so
You just rolled up some Willy Wonka quotes right now. Mid-pod? Let's go.
I searched them. I have watched the
go.
movie, but that's not on the top of my head like an "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" quote or something like that. So Pete, there's been some figurative realignment in Arizona State's prospects and their expectations, but there's literal realignment news still trickling down the food chain. You wrote a great piece on this on ESPN.com that I encourage people to go and look at. But give us a thumbnail of where we stand with realignment.
Well, the good news for those of us who enjoy celebrating the 4th of July, Rece, is that we will not have some sort of axis shifting type realignment, which tends to happen 4th of July weekend. My interrupted vacation schedule could tell you, and Kate Thamel could probably tell you as well. This year, we will likely get some realignment, and it's expected to come before July 1st. Deadlines spur actions. College presidents tend to be a generally inert group who will defer, put a committee together, and decide not to decide as long as they possibly can. For the Pac-12, which needs to grow to 8 football playing schools, a decision appears to be looming by July 1st. That is when Texas State, the heavy favorite to join that league, would have a buyout that would grow from $5 million to $10 million. Would not be a good start of the partnership with the Pac-12 if they made Texas State spend an additional $5 million to go to their league. So I would think in the next week or two, and my sources have told me that the conversations will continue between Texas State and the Pac-12, and it's likely a formal invitation will go. So that would put the Pac-12 Rece at 8 football playing members, the minimum you need to be an FBS conference for 2026. Other potential ripples could come off of that in terms of the Pac-12 growing, expanding, etc. Texas State would leave the Sun Belt. The favorite, and it's not done certainly, but the favorite to replace them would be Louisiana Tech in the Sun Belt. They had these discussions last year when Texas State was hot and heavy with the Mountain West. They ultimately declined, and Louisiana Tech had emerged from that AD group there. Now, still some steps to go, but that would be the most logical ripple. I've been told today that people at Western Kentucky are not happy with how that's going to go, so perhaps they put on a push. Western Kentucky's probably been a little better in football. The argument for Louisiana Tech in the Sun Belt is that they are right in that league's footprint in terms of local rivalry with Southern Miss, local rivalry with Louisiana, local rivalry with Monroe. They also really value baseball and softball in that league. It's obviously football, 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 but in the Sun Belt, baseball is done well. So that is the way that is supposed to go at this point. And then the final ripple would be in Conference USA, where Tarleton State would be the favorite to replace whatever Conference USA school got gobbled up by the Sun Belt. So you'll be quizzed later, Rece, for all of your smaller realignment ripples.
One of the things I think that for people who sort of bemoan the expansiveness geographically of conferences, if you are against that, I'm not asking anybody the silliness of abandoning their main team, but if you like that old school feel, Sunbelt's the place for you. I remember Keith Gill, the commissioner, talking to me about this several years ago. We're going to double down on this. We're going to, accentuate what people really sort of grew up caring about, beating your backdoor neighbor, your backyard neighbor. And, I think it could work for them in a lot of ways. You could get some intense atmospheres. You could, they've had good teams. It's, try to be different, right? Don't try to beat everybody at their own game. Now, one quick question about Texas State, then I want to get to the quarterbacks. Now, I'm not going to proclaim myself to be an expert in Texas geography or population distribution, but San Marcos, which is the main campus, right, of Texas State, is not far, is half hour ish or maybe a little more from Austin area, right? It's
correct.
In that
it's
area.
Fairly close to San Antonio too. I would say it's probably a hair closer to Austin, but it is in the middle of those 40,000 students. I was just researched and told. The other day. So it's obviously Texas is growing. That area is booming, as you and I have gone to Austin a number of times over the years. And
so has that played a part in that, and why Texas State is attractive to the new Pac-12?
I think so. Look, they don't have a ton of tenable options, right? So let's just start there. And that's not a knock on Texas State. But if there was a big brand thumper out west that they could go get, they would probably go get them. But that's not available right now. They played footsies with UNLV and Air Force. They said no thanks. And so they need to add a full-time football playing member. Texas State, I think, has played their hand pretty well because they could have gone to the Mountain West. They said, you know what? I don't think because of the travel is significant and it's going to be millions of more dollars in travel money. They need an uptick in what the TV contract would be. So if you're the Pac-12 and you look at Texas State, they are in a major media market. Their football has been excellent the last 2 years. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you they've been this like traditional long program, but GJ Kenny has fired up the engines there. He's given them, think about the game. Kenny
really dynamic, good young coach.
Yes,
really,
he's a very
really
good young coach.
Yeah.
He's a very good young coach. They should be and are worried about keeping him. He's the highest paid coach in the Sun Belt, Rece, by almost $1 million.
And from his playing days, he would kind of fit into that extended family of Kenny Dillingham, Gus Malzahn, Chad Morris, those guys.
Yes,
from his playing time.
He threw it around now at Tulsa,
yeah.
And he actually played for the Eagles for a while. Yeah, and he's a bright young head coach, and he has flipped the ignition on that program there, which always had some potential and always had good location, but you have to go do it and win. And they've gone and done it and won. Nearly beat Arizona State last year in that home Thursday night game that we were chatting about with Kenny earlier. So there are a lot of, like, if Texas State was a house on the real estate market, Rece, it would have good bones, right?
Okay.
Like there are good things, good fundamental tenets about it. And I would say for about the last 3 months, they've been the center of the conversation here. And it's just a matter of, in the upcoming weeks, the president's coming together and formally knighting them, if you will, to go. Now, it's realignment. Nothing is done till it's done, and we've certainly seen some surprises and such. But that is the trajectory, as Texas State is the heavy favorite to join that league right now. And then once that league is whole and moving in a direction, it'll be interesting to see where they can go. And could Memphis come football only and split their basketball off to the Big East is an option that's being talked about, and it's kind of an intriguing thing. That's obviously fairly complex too. I've been told Memphis wouldn't be really realistic to get there until 27, 28. just from a timeline perspective. So there's nothing imminent there. In Memphis, look, like a lot of schools now, the conversations I'm having with ADs outside the Power Four leagues, Rece, is they want to make sure, or quite frankly, at the bottom part of the Power Four leagues, they want to make sure they're on the right side of the river when this whole thing splits and fractures. People guesstimate somewhere around 2030. Now, who knows, right? There's so many variables that can come into play here, and we don't even know what the darn thing's going to look like under this under the new House settlement. So again, there's a lot of variables that are at play. But the thought is the end of this decade, we may see that seismic shift, and so everybody's building, trying to position themselves so they are on the right side of the river when that happens.
If you like the realignment talk and you like the NIL and the revenue sharing talk, just wait till you get a load of NIL Go, which is supposed to be the clearinghouse for the name, image, and likeness deals, except for this convenient little loophole that I read about just yesterday. What in the world is stopping companies, people from signing players to personal services contracts? And if they stop them, guess where we're headed then? Court and more fodder for Pete Thamel's investigations. But that is for another day. In mid-June, if you think teams talk too much about quarterbacks, we should talk some more about the quarterbacks. Pete, we are going to count down our top 5 quarterbacks for the upcoming season. Now, I'm going to lay some parameters around this that you and I discussed prior to the podcast. This is not number 1 pick potential. It could be. The guy could end up being, or these guys could end up being that. But what we're talking about is the guys who we think will have the best seasons, most impactful seasons for their teams as a college quarterback for this upcoming season. We'll count them down from 5 to 1. I'll start with number 5. And I'm going to tell you some of the guys that I'm feeling guilty about leaving off my list right now.
I definitely have guilt notes as well. The guilt note is part of this.
Let's do a real quick guilt note right now. We'll do a few. I'm going to say DJ Lagway is my first guilt note, and the reason is simply health. If he's healthy, then he will be a top 5 quarterback this year. I think he's going to be, but you don't know for sure. I've got a little bit of a long shot guy in Austin Simmons at Ole Miss that I think could be really good, and Luke Altmaier at Illinois, who I think might have a really big season right on the cusp. Fernando Mendoza, now at Indiana, another guy. Give me a few of your guilt list, and then I'll hit you with my number 5, which might surprise you.
I desperately wanted to make this guy 5, and I didn't pull the trigger on it. But my guilt is Diego Pavia. All he does is win, and he is just like he is a full-on hombre, man. He takes hits, he runs hard, and he slays giants, right? That's all he's did at New Mexico State, did it at Vanderbilt, and I just didn't have the gumption to put it on. So Diego, my apologies. I'm a giant fan of the Albuquerque Tinkler. We've talked about him a bunch on the podcast. Like he has the most amazing story. I saw his brothers have a podcast the other day about like going out in Austin. I'm sorry, in Nashville. Wrong city that's good to go out in. I'm a huge fan. I also have Rocco Becht guilt. I like Rocco Becht a lot. I feel like Iowa State very quietly, although it's a little bit like some of the skill they lost around him scares me a little bit. I have some of that, and I'm big on the Mendoza train. I feel like it is impossible to ignore at this point the work that Kurt Cignetti and Mike Shanahan have done with quarterbacks in putting together offenses to accentuate them, and he's the most talented one they've had. So yes, there is. I feel guilty about others, but those were there, and I do not have Lagway either. I do agree with you. I think Lagway, and there will be a lot of talk about this upcoming draft. And again, we're not going to be super draft centric, but the draft is obviously a good barometer of talent. I do feel like in this quarterback class, Rece, we could have like 8 or 9 guys in that first round discussion. I just think there's enough good college quarterbacks for me to draft eligible in this upcoming 2026 draft. The 2027 draft, Rece, though, because that's where I think Arch is going to be. I think a lot of people do. Lagway is going to be there. There are a few other, maybe Lenore Sellers. Who knows where he ends up pulling the trigger and going. I just feel like, boy, that could be like one, two, three, like, there could be some big time guys in that class. So I think I will say this. I think we are in a golden age of quarterbacks in college football the next 2 seasons. I feel confident about that. I think this is going to be an unusually rich and flush time for great college quarterbacks.
I've got one major name that might make me look completely foolish that I didn't mention as a guilt guy, but I'm not going to mention him because I think he might be on your top 5 list. We'll talk about that when we get there. So we've apologized all we possibly can. We've also left out some other terrific quarterbacks that I have listed here that I considered. The number 5 guy on my list, top 5 quarterbacks for the season they will have and the impact on their team this year. Number 5 from Louisville, Miller Moss.
Ooh, there's a nice surprise.
Transfer from USC. I think he got the short end of the stick at USC last year. I think they kind of jobbed him when they took him off the field. He completed nearly 65% of his passes, twice as many touchdowns as interceptions. Now, there were moments he made some big mistakes. I got it. But I think getting with Jeff Brom in that system is really going to fit his skill set. I know Lincoln Riley is quarterback friendly and all of that, but I think that Brom has done such a great job with quarterbacks that he could do for Miller Moss what he did for Tyler Shuck. And I think that Miller Moss at Louisville, who by the way, matched and then won Garrett Nussmeier throw for throw in the opener last year in the USC LSU game. I'm going to go with Miller Moss as a bit of a surprise at number 5 for my top 5 quarterbacks for the upcoming season.
I'm going to quickly comment on that and then get to my number 5. If Miller Moss has a Tyler Shuck season, I think it would cement Jeff Brom as the single best head coach play caller in college football, because he would basically take a Lincoln Riley spare part, who's obviously in the throes of that conversation, and do that. Jeff Brom is like Apple stock. It's just Jeff Brom with a great quarterback. He's going to throw it. He's going to develop it. The scheme's going to be elite. They always have good skill. They have good NIL money. Like, I just, I like that call, Rece. I'm mad that I wasn't convicted enough to do that. So thank you for shaming me. I'm going to go with Lenore Sellers as my 5th. Look, the combination of his growth that we've seen already, his athleticism in being able to run the ball, the skill that they're going to have around him at South Carolina. I quite frankly think their defense is going to take a step back, and that's going to necessitate him to score, there's going to be more of an onus on him to produce and to score. So I just think I picked him over DJ Lagway, and I was back and forth. I just think we've seen a little bit more from Sellers, even though he did have a little bit of injury issues last year. I think I probably like Lagway a little bit more long-term, but for now I'm going to go with Lenore Sellers in my 5th spot.
I was conflicted on him as well, Pete, because I worry a little bit about their receivers. I know maybe this is the year that Nick Harbor and all of that size and speed come to fruition, but there's so much, and I'm not the first to make this comparison, there's so much Jalen Hurts and Lenore Sellers. I went ahead and had him at number 4. I became convicted to put Moss at 5, and then as odd as this sounds, because this was an excruciating task, because you don't want to insult anybody and you want to kind of be right if you can be.
Sure.
I came down to this. I was like, I'm going to put Moss 5 because I think he's the wild card. And 4, I'm either going to go Sellers or Sam Leavitt, and I'm going to leave the other one out. So I'm going Sellers 4, where you went with him 5. So who'd you have at 4?
I took Sam Leavitt at 4.
Okay.
How could I not after the Kenny Dillingham pep talk about it? I think Jordan Tyson's going to be next to Jerry Rice after listening to Kenny talk up his guys, which was great. I just think what we saw from Leavitt, with having played very little 2 seasons ago, to being as high end as he was last year. And again, there's enough pure arm talent there. There's going to be much better skill around him and just much better infrastructure around him. Look, Kenny's given us reason to have faith in his ability to grow and develop quarterbacks. If you look at his track record from his last few stops, Kenny was the first person who told me, by the way, that Jordan Travis could be like a Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback. I remember him telling me that very early at Florida State. And I was like, who? So there's been a good run. He obviously really helped Bo Nix turn things around at Oregon when he was there. And look, that league, Rece, you should be able to huck the ball around a little bit in the old Big 12 now. You know, like you're not facing any steel curtains out there. So I am optimistic to see what Sam Leavitt can do. So that was my number 4 quarterback.
Okay, so so far we have Miller Moss, and who did you have at 5 again?
I had Lenora Sellers.
Okay, you had Sellers at 5. I've got him at 4. You've got Leavitt at 4. So that brings us to number 3. And number 3, I'm going to go with the quarterback for my preseason number 1 team in the country, Cade Klubnik.
Oh.
Now, the one thing I want to see from Klubnik is to throw the ball down the field a little bit more. And I think they're going to be able to do that with the improvements that they've made at receiver. Now, he put up big numbers last year, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, really showed up in the playoff game against Texas, rallied Clemson in that game, got him back in it. He's still young, man. I mean, I think we forget I think he's only 21 years old. So, you know, some of the guys you see that are getting into their senior year of college football, as Klubnik will be, are a little bit older. And I think because of his recruiting story, the expectations were high. And I will admit that I was one of the guys going for a couple of years. Not sure I see it. I have a little skepticism. I'm not going to lie, a little skepticism, but I'm banking on physical maturity, growing into the body, maybe a hint of arm strength here and there. We know he can run. We know he's a competitor. Tone down some of that recklessness, some of the things that Kenny Dillingham was talking about with Sam Leavitt, playing the boombox at the right volume, not being reckless with a football. If Klubnik does that, and if his receivers mature, some of those young receivers, a couple of them that Clemson played a lot, especially last year, they mature. I'm going to go Klubnik number 3.
All right. That is a very fair take. I am going to go with the quarterback for your preseason number 2 team, Rece, and that is Drew Aller. Let's start with the physical package of Drew Aller. Like, he looks like Bill Parcells wanted his quarterbacks to look like. Does that make sense? He's a big, strapping buck. Can move. I don't think he's a runner per se, but he can move. He is not Curtis Rourke, right? Like, he is not like extremely limited there, but he is enough to dance around. And I think the combination of physical traits with the growth and development we saw through the course of last season makes me think he is hands down the best quarterback in the Big Ten for next season, and which is why I have him where I do. He really finished strong until the actual finish, when he finished really, really poorly at the end of that college football playoff semifinal game against Notre Dame, when he obviously threw that punitive interception that cost them the game and cost Penn State a chance to go play for the national title, or at least to go to overtime to play for the national title, I should say. I feel like Aller could have gone out this year and been a very high draft pick. I'm not going to say he would have gone 3rd to the Giants or anything, but I'm saying is that he would have been in the higher end conversation for quarterbacks. But I also want to say this. I think he was smart to come back. And I think he was smart to go through another season of development with Andy Kotelnicki. I think I want to see him. There's growth, right? I want to see him slay some giants, produce in some big games, and go up against the highest end competition that Penn State has. Now, the one thing that really I think helps him, and I think this is an underrated storyline for next season, is 2 years ago, Michigan had 3 cupcakes and used that as a launching pad to the national title. Last year, Ohio State had 3 cupcakes and used that as a launching pad to go to the national title. And I think Penn State having that this season is going to be good for them, for their program, to find, the Trebor Peñas, the transfers who come in that need to gel and develop. So I'm all in on Drew Aller, and I have him at my 3 spot.
And he was the one I did not mention on my guilt list because he's not on my list.
Oh, wow. Just excluded.
Well, I have them preseason number 2, and I think he's going to be very good.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be very good. The question I have is, will he be able to turn it loose? Now, I know there are Penn State fans listening to this say, wait a minute, you just gave Klubnik a pass because of his age. I think he's put up bigger numbers, different style offense. I get that. Aller's also a young guy. I think he just turned 21 too. And that's not the be all end all thing. There are guys sometimes that are 19, set the world on fire. You know how I like to say, there's no rule against improvement. I want to see Drew Aller. This is the one where I could say, it'd be easy to say, what an idiot. If he develops a little more of the trait of my number 2 guy, if he develops a little more of the, I can get this one in there. I know I can get it in there. I don't care if they think they're going to intercept it. I'm going to throw the ball, and I'm going to throw a touchdown. Little daredevil, little gunslinger, little big time. My number 2 guy is Garrett Nussmeier.
So is mine, Rece.
I mean, I think right now, I know he can make you want to bang your head into a brick wall and go, what are you doing? He also is my favorite guy to watch because of that. Because he may throw one. I mean, and you go, yeah, that dude right there. I'm watching him. So I'm going to go Nussmeier number 2. And you're in agreement with that?
I am in agreement that Garrett Nussmeier is my number 2 quarterback, and I debated long and hard about putting him number 1 and decided not to. I have a feeling, Rece, I know who your number 1 quarterback is. I think faithful listeners of the podcast could probably ascertain that as well.
But it won't be for the reasons you think.
Okay.
So do you want me to go number 1, or do you want?
I want you to go number 1. I want to hear it.
My number 1 quarterback, guy who had the best season for his team, put up the best numbers, Arch Manning. And I know that's what you expected, but not for the reasons. This is a healthy chunk of my belief in Arch Manning's talent, and a gargantuan chunk in my belief in Steve Sarkisian as a guy who can take quarterbacks and make them succeed beyond what their experience might indicate that they would. Case in point, Mac Jones. When Mac Jones took over as starter at Alabama and Steve Sarkisian was the offensive coordinator, many observers, including me, thought, yeah, this won't last. Bryce Young will have him out of there by game 3, right? Nope. Instead, he was Heisman Trophy runner-up. Now, I know what you're saying. Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, John Mechie, got it. But a lot of that was Sark. A lot of that was Sark. He was before, but still, maybe early on, but later on. Mm-hmm. So, but at any rate, I think the combination of Sarkisian putting him in great spots, some of the experience that he got backing up Quinn Ewers and playing some of Quinn Ewers, I think the combination of Manning, Sark will probably have them. And in fact, I think if I had to pick right now, I think those 2 guys will face off in the SEC championship game. Got to do a little more diving into it a little bit, but Manning, Nussmeier, I think will be the SEC championship game, with both probably going to the playoff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I've probably tipped my hand in that I do not have Arch Manning on my 5. Yeah, I think Arch Manning will have a very good season. I certainly have faith in his talent. I certainly have a ton of respect for Steve Sarkisian as a play caller. But I want to see a little more. That's all. I want to see a little more. Fair. I think McElroy didn't put him on his top 10. So anyone who thinks that I am a hater, if I'm a horns down guy, if anyone thinks that, send your complaints to McElroy, who didn't even have him top 10. I'm going with Cade Klubnik as my top quarterback, and it's for the very reason that I don't have Arch Manning on the list. It is production. Production. He has consistently produced. He has consistently improved, and what a fascinating opening weekend. Why does that game have to be at the same time as Ohio State, Texas, or at the same day as Ohio State, Texas? Because I would love to be at Clemson to see LSU roll in there, Rece. I would love to
awesome.
be. I mean, just what a game!
It's going to be a great game.
Yes, the amount of NFL talent on that field on both sides of the ball is going to be amazing. And I think the lesson of Cade Klubnik, you mentioned some of your lack of patience with his development at times, is that development comes at different paces. And
for sure,
look, if it wasn't for COVID, Bo Nix would probably be holding a clipboard somewhere, and I would even venture to say Jaden Daniels wouldn't get drafted, or would have been
Mhm.
a low round draft pick. Not certainly the number 2 pick in the draft, and the best rookie that we've probably, best rookie quarterback that we've probably seen in college football. So I'm sorry, in the NFL this year.
Mhm.
So I just think I'm a big believer in starts and development, and I think Cabe Klubnik is going to ace the test this year. And I think this is a high end Clemson team. They finally have a decent receiving core. They went through like a 6 year drought at that position where it was
Mhm.
pedestrian would be kind
Mhm.
to say what was there compared to what it had been. They had set the standard so high and kind of failed to get there. So I feel really bullish on Cade. And I am excited, and I'm certainly excited in mid-October for people to call up clips of this and mock us online, which is
Oh,
inevitable.
you know it's going to happen. I mean, Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore, uh, back for Clemson, Antonio Williams. I mean, they
Hmm.
should he should have weapons around him. And full disclosure, I wasn't completely set. Like when we decided to do this, when you said let's do this,
Hmm.
I rotated among those three at number one and one, two,
Yeah.
three at various times. Now, one thing I hadn't told you, let's give one sleeper, and maybe
Oh.
not a guilt thing, but a sleeper, a guilt guy that people are going to call up will be John Mateer too, with his at Oklahoma now with his
Yeah,
offensive
I thought
coordinator.
about
All that.
Mateer at
I did
five.
too.
I thought about Mateer at 5. Yeah.
So did I. Here's my sleeper, and the reason I bring up Mateer is because of the guy that he's going to replace. Watch out for Jackson Arnold. Very
Hmm.
talented guy at Auburn. They've got a very good young receiving core, and and there is some pressure to produce offensively and win there. So he would be my sleeper. Do you have somebody that you didn't really consider for the top five, but somebody that you're kind of looking at going, okay, let's keep an eye out there.
I'm going to hedge with 2. I'm going to say Josh Hoover of TCU.
That's a
I
good one. I
feel
had him
like
on my list. Yeah.
they were the quietest 9-win team in the country last year, and they have a mega stage opening weekend at North Carolina that Monday night, Reese, which is going to be an unbelievable event, very Belichick centric. I am not the biggest believer in North Carolina's personnel right now. And I think if Hoover can go win that game with America watching, he could really take off and continue his very strong play. Tennessee was very interested in Josh Hoover when their quarterback situation went into
That's
flux
one
this
way to
spring.
put it.
Yep, they were very intrigued. They were very intrigued. Yeah, he might have had a raise before Nico went in the portal. And the other one that I've seen in some like sleeper draft stuff or whatever is Sawyer Robertson at Baylor.
Yep. That's the other guy I have
He's
here.
yes, those two in my mind could really end up. Look, the Big 12 is just such this beautiful muddled mess, right? Like you don't really know where anything or anyone's going to go. So I think those two could really make big moves this season and really be at the forefront of the quarterback conversation. Big 12 has an elite quarterback year. I think that's probably a little underrated in all this. You and I are still believers in Jalen Daniels because we saw what he did for that first stretch of the 23 season.
Mhm.
If he's finally healthy, I have full faith that Lance Leipold's going to be able to figure out how to maximize him. So I think it's a really fun year in that league. Can Noah Fafita bounce back? Certainly 2 years ago, he was in a different conversational plane. So yeah, they'll be slinging it in the old 12.
We I had 11 guys listed here that didn't make my five that I considered for the
Oh,
top
interesting.
five. And I was keeping track to see, and I thought, okay, the two guys that I'll mention as we go away are Jalen Daniels, Sawyer Robertson. You hit them. So that probably means I don't know who else we left, who we might have left out, but nobody said Gunnar Stockton. See how that goes.
We haven't
No,
said Julian
nobody said
Sayin.
no one
Yeah,
said Carson Beck.
correct. Nobody did say Carson Beck.
No one said Carson
I
Beck.
mean, there's some tools there. I need to. He has earned our skepticism.
Yes, I'll say this about we sort of made fun of ourselves here. Drew Aller might make me look like a complete knucklehead for not having him like number one. Arch may have too many growing pains. It may look ridiculous. Number one, if Carson Beck proves himself to be the best quarterback in college football this year, I'll applaud. I'll say good for you. Happy for you. Good to see good things happen to people. But I will have no regret over leaving him off this list at this point in the season.
And some of that's just we didn't see anything in the spring. It's really hard, and we saw this with Riley Leonard, who missed most of last spring for Notre Dame. It's really hard to come to a place where you're handed the starting job, basically, and if you don't practice, right, you don't have rhythm, timing, the offense, etc., to just roll right in week one and produce like a slot machine. It's hard. It takes time, synchronicity, continuity, all synergy, all those things just take time to build. It's very simple.
I always heard Brian Kelly talking about Jaden Daniels and the difficult game that he had at Auburn, and then boom, after that, before long, Heisman Trophy, toasted the NFL. Guys develop at different paces. Fun podcast. We appreciate you listening. We encourage you to download wherever you prefer to get your podcast, or better yet, subscribe. Never miss an episode. And of course, you can follow Pete and me on social media, and we will provide links to the YouTube version so you can see our smiling countenance.